Captain Lee stared at the massive view screen in Seoul Command Center. The alien ships hung in Earth's orbit like glittering jewels against the blackness of space. After 18 months of radio transmissions, humanity was about to meet the Radak face-to-face. Final verification complete. The Radak delegation will land in 1 hour, said Dr. Kim, her voice steady despite the historic moment. Around the world, people gathered in homes and public squares to watch the broadcast. It was humanity's first confirmed contact with an intelligent alien species. The Radak had appeared suddenly, their signals reaching Earth from a nearby star system. They claimed to be peaceful explorers seeking new civilizations. "I still can't believe this is happening," said Technical Officer Bake, adjusting the communication array. "After all those years of SETI picking up nothing but static." Captain Lee nodded but remained cautious. As head of Earth's Unified Defense Response Team, he had insisted on security protocols despite political pressure for a more open welcome. "The Radak ambassador requests permission to land with a party of 5, announced Communications Officer Song. "They're transmitting biological data as requested." The landing site in Pyeongchang had been prepared for weeks. A neutral location, surrounded by mountains, with representatives from every major nation present. Captain Lee watched the feed as the sleek, silver shuttle descended through clouds, landing with barely a sound on the designated pad. The hatch opened, revealing the Radak for the first time outside of transmitted images. They were tall, with smooth blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, surveyed the human delegation. "We greet Earth with peace," said the lead Radak in perfect Korean, then repeated the phrase in English, Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic. "We bring knowledge and friendship." The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, scientific exchanges, and cultural presentations. The Radak seemed genuinely interested in human art, music, and literature. They offered glimpses of their own technology, medical advancements that could cure diseases, energy systems that produced no waste, agricultural methods that could end world hunger. Captain Lee remained skeptical. "They're only showing us what they want us to see," he told Dr. Kim during a private moment. "Notice how they dodge questions about their defense systems or population numbers. Not everyone approaches first contact with military suspicion," Dr. Kim replied. "Perhaps they're just being cautious, same as us." On the 4th day, Captain Lee was awakened by emergency alarms at 3:27 a.m. "Sir, we've lost contact with multiple satellite systems," Technical Officer Bake reported, face pale in the red emergency lighting. "Something's happening." By the time Lee reached the command center, reports were flooding in. Radak ships, previously hidden on the far side of the moon, were moving into attack positions around Earth. The diplomatic vessel had departed the landing zone without warning, breaking all protocols. "Get me the president," Lee ordered, but communications were already being jammed. The first attack came at dawn. It wasn't explosions or energy weapons as military strategists had feared. Instead, the Radak deployed atmosphere processors, massive devices that began releasing a fine mist into Earth's air. "It's a neurotoxin," Dr. Kim reported after analyzing samples, specifically engineered to target human neural pathways. "It causes painless death within hours." The toxin spread quickly on air currents. Major cities reported mass casualties first. Evacuation orders went out, but there was nowhere safe to go. The Radak had positioned processors to cover most inhabited regions. Captain Lee led the emergency response from Seoul Command's underground bunker, which was equipped with sealed air systems. "Why?" demanded Defense Minister Park during an emergency video conference. "We offered them nothing but friendship." The answer came 12 hours into the attack. A broadcast from the Radak Fleet Commander appeared on all functioning screens worldwide. "Humanity has been classified as a Type 7 developmental risk species," the alien stated without emotion. "Our predictive models show a 94% probability that humans would develop interstellar capabilities within 200 years and begin aggressive expansion." The galactic harmony cannot permit this disruption. Your elimination is regrettable but necessary for cosmic stability. The transmission ended abruptly. They're not invading, Captain Lee realized. They're exterminating us like pests. In the chaos that followed, humanity's disparate military forces attempted coordinated counterattacks. Fighter jets scrambled to engage Radak vessels, but were swiftly neutralized by advanced defense systems. Nuclear missiles were launched as a desperate measure, only to be disabled mid-flight. We've lost contact with Europe and most of North America, reported Officer Song, struggling to maintain composure. Australia reports 70% population loss. Africa and South America are going dark sector by sector. Captain Lee made a decision. We need to go deep. Underground facilities, submarine bases, hardened shelters. Anywhere the toxin can't reach. Gather whoever we can save. Dr. Kim was already working with a team of biochemists. We might be able to develop filters, maybe even an antidote, but we need time. Time is what we don't have, Lee said grimly. Over the next 48 hours, the remnants of humanity retreated to whatever shelter they could find. Mining complexes, military bunkers, and submarine bases became havens for survivors. Seoul Command became a rallying point for South Korean resistance, with air scrubbers working overtime to keep the toxin at bay. 6 days after the attack began, something unexpected happened. A small Radak scout ship crashed near Daejeon. Captain Lee personally led the team to investigate. Engine failure, Technical Officer Baek concluded after examining the wreckage. They didn't expect to be here long enough to need maintenance protocols. The real prize was the Radak pilot, still alive but injured. Dr. Kim supervised its containment and medical treatment. Their biology is fascinating, she told Captain Lee. Their nervous system operates on collective frequencies, almost like a living network. This discovery proved crucial. While examining the aliens' neural patterns, Dr. Kim noticed something remarkable. When exposed to certain sound frequencies, the Radak experience severe disorientation. It disrupts their hive-mind connection, she explained. Without it, they can't function properly. It wasn't much, but it was hope, the first real advantage humans had found. Captain Lee gathered the surviving military and scientific leadership in Seoul Command Situation Room. Maps showed the devastating extent of the attack. Nearly 80% of Earth's population was already gone. They tried to erase us, Lee said, looking at each exhausted face. They expected us to die quietly. But now we have something they don't expect, knowledge of a weakness, and as long as even one human remains, we will fight back. The resistance had begun. 3 months after the Radak attack began, humanity was barely holding on. Small pockets of survivors existed in underground facilities across the globe, each fighting their own desperate battle for survival. Seoul Command had become one of the largest resistance bases, housing nearly 4,000 people in a facility designed for 500. Captain Lee now held the rank of general, though he found little meaning in titles when humanity teetered on the edge of extinction. The air filtration systems are at 200% capacity, reported Engineer Jun as they walked through the crowded main corridor. We've modified subway ventilation to extend our safe zone 3 kilometers east, but we can't expand further without better filters. General Lee nodded grimly. What about communication with other bases? Spotty at best. We have confirmed contact with bunkers in Japan, part of Russia, and a submarine base near Australia. Nothing from Europe or the Americas in 2 weeks. They entered the laboratory section, where Dr. Kim led research efforts. The space had been converted from a storage area into a makeshift scientific facility. Equipment salvaged from universities and research centers covered every available surface. I have something, Dr. Kim said without looking up from her microscope. Dark circles hung under her eyes from weeks of minimal sleep. The Radak biology team made a breakthrough. She motioned them to a containment chamber where the captured Radak pilot was kept. The alien had recovered from its injuries but remained lethargic, its normally vibrant skin dull and grayish. "We've been testing various frequency patterns," Dr. Kim explained. "At precisely 172.8 Hz, the Radak experiences complete neural disorientation. Look." She activated a small device. The sound was barely audible to human ears, but the effect on the Radak was immediate and dramatic. The alien convulsed, its four eyes blinking rapidly and uncoordinated. "It disrupts their hive-mind connection," Dr. Kim continued. "We believe all Radak share a unified consciousness. This frequency essentially cuts individuals off from their collective." General Lee studied the alien closely. "Can we weaponize this?" "Sergeant Yoon is already working on portable emitters," Dr. Kim replied. "But we need to test them in actual combat conditions." That opportunity came sooner than expected. 3 days later, sensors detected Radak drones searching the ruins of Seoul above the command center. "They're looking for survivors," Officer Song reported. "Standard patrol pattern. 4 drones, likely controlled by a single officer on their ship." General Lee assembled a small strike team. Himself, Sergeant Yoon with 2 prototype frequency emitters, and 4 soldiers with conventional weapons. "This is a test mission only," he instructed. "We observe the effects of the emitters and retreat immediately. No heroics, no extended engagement." They moved through maintenance tunnels that connected to the old subway system, emerging 3 blocks from the Radak patrol. The city above was unrecognizable. Once gleaming skyscrapers stood like broken teeth against the gray sky. The air carried the faint scent of the neurotoxin, though most had broken down by now. "Masks secure," General Lee ordered as they took position in an abandoned department store. Through the broken windows, they could see the Radak drones, floating spheres the size of beach balls, methodically scanning building remains. Sergeant Yoon activated the first emitter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the nearest drone faltered in midair, spinning erratically before crashing to the ground. "It works," Yoon whispered excitedly. The other drones immediately changed behavior, moving in a defensive pattern. Before the team could celebrate, a Radak officer appeared from behind a collapsed wall. Unlike the drones, it was a living Radak, wearing an environment suit that protected it from Earth's atmosphere. "Second emitter, now," ordered General Lee. Yoon activated the stronger device. The effect was dramatic. The Radak officer froze, then began moving in jerky, uncoordinated motions. It dropped its weapon and clutched at its head in what appeared to be pain or confusion. "Move in," Lee commanded. They approached cautiously. Up close, the disoriented Radak seemed almost pitiful, a being cut off from its collective mind, experiencing individuality perhaps for the first time. "Secure it," Lee ordered. "We're taking it back for study." This first successful mission changed everything. Analysis of the captured officer and its equipment provided invaluable intelligence. The Radak were not as invulnerable as they had first appeared. "Their entire strategy depends on coordination," explained military analyst Chin during the debriefing. "Each Radak is essentially a node in their network. Without that connection, they become confused, ineffective." Over the next weeks, resistance cells worldwide received plans for the frequency emitters. Small-scale attacks against Radak patrols became more common. Humanity was fighting back. 2 months after that first mission, Dr. Kim made another critical discovery while examining captured Radak technology. Their ships use quantum entanglement for communication, she explained to the resistance leadership. "That's how they coordinate globally without delay. If we could disrupt that network, we could blind them all at once," finished General Lee. The plan they developed was ambitious and dangerous. A team would infiltrate a Radak communication relay on what used to be Namsan Tower. From there, they could potentially upload a disruption signal to the entire Radak network. Sergeant Yoon led the engineering team that built the disruptor device. "It's essentially a massive version of our portable emitters," she explained, "but we need to place it physically inside the relay system." The mission was set for dawn. 20 volunteers, including General Lee, Dr. Kim, and Sergeant Yoon, would make the dangerous journey to Namsen. The night before the mission, Lee found Dr. Kim in the laboratory, still working. "You should rest," he said quietly. "Tomorrow will be difficult." Dr. Kim looked up, her eyes red from exhaustion. "I can't stop thinking about what the Radak said. That we're a development risk, that they saw our potential and decided to eliminate us before we could realize it." "They were right to fear us," Lee replied. "Look at what we've accomplished in just a few months. Backed into a corner with almost nothing. We found their weakness." Dr. Kim nodded slowly. "If we succeed tomorrow, it's just the beginning. The real fight will come after." "One step at a time," Lee said. "First, we show them that humanity won't be erased so easily." The next morning, they moved through the ruins of Seoul in the pre-dawn darkness. Radak patrols were lighter at this hour, another weakness the resistance had identified. As the sun rose over the devastated city, General Lee looked at his team: scientists, soldiers, ordinary people forced into extraordinary circumstances. Their faces showed fear, determination, and something else: hope, small but growing. "Today," he said simply, "we begin taking our planet back." The mission to Namsen Tower changed everything. When General Lee's team uploaded the disruption signal into the Radak relay system, they didn't just temporarily disable the aliens in Seoul. The effect rippled through the entire Radak network worldwide. "It's working," Sergeant Yoon shouted as the relay's lights flickered and died. "The signal is propagating through their quantum network." From their vantage point on the tower, they watched as Radak ships across the city suddenly lost formation, some crashing into buildings or each other. The aliens' perfect coordination had vanished. That was 6 months ago. Now, humanity had moved from desperate survival to active resistance. In the expanded command center beneath Seoul, General Lee studied holographic maps showing resistance strongholds across the planet. Green dots indicated confirmed human settlements, growing more numerous each week. Australia reports successful capture of a Radak light cruiser, announced Communications Officer Song. Minimal damage to the ship's systems. They're requesting Dr. Kim's team to help with analysis. Dr. Kim looked up from her workstation. The past months had transformed her from a research scientist into one of humanity's most valuable military assets. Her understanding of Radak biology and technology had been crucial to their survival. "I'll prepare a team," she said. "A functioning cruiser could tell us much about their propulsion systems." The war had entered a new phase. After the Namsen Tower mission, surviving humans had emerged from hiding to launch coordinated attacks against weakened Radak forces. The aliens, cut off from their hive mind, proved vulnerable to human adaptability and independent thinking. "General, you should see this," called Engineer June. He had been working with a team to decode Radak data storage devices. "We found something disturbing in their records." On the screen appeared images of other worlds, other species, all marked with the same designation: developmental risk. "They've done this before," Jun said quietly. 7 other civilizations at least, all eliminated because the Radak predicted they might one day become threats. General Lee studied the images gravely. "Are any of these species still in existence?" 3 appear to have been completely eradicated. 4 others have surviving populations on remote colonies or moons, hidden from Radak detection. This discovery sparked fierce debate among the resistance leadership. Some argued for immediate contact with these survivor species. Others cautioned against drawing attention to them. "We need allies," argued military strategist Park. "Other species who understand what we're fighting against." "We need to focus on Earth first," countered Security Chief Han. "We've barely reclaimed our major cities." General Lee listened to all sides before making his decision. "We'll send a small team to the nearest survivor world, Keller 5, home to the Neth. But our priority remains Earth's liberation." The mission to Keller 5 would have to wait, however. Intelligence reports indicated the Radak were adapting to humanity's tactics. "They're developing countermeasures to our frequency disruptors," reported Sergeant Yoon. Their newer units have shielding that partially blocks our emitters. And they've changed patrol patterns, added Officer Song. Smaller units, more redundancy. They're learning to operate with disrupted communications. The Resistance needed a new advantage. It came from an unexpected source. During analysis of the captured cruiser in Australia, technicians discovered something revolutionary. It's not just a ship, Dr. Kim explained over secure video link. It's a biological interface. The Radak don't just pilot these vessels. They connect with them on a neural level. She transmitted data showing how Radak ships functioned as extensions of their collective consciousness. More importantly, she had found a way to sever that connection permanently. If we modify our disruptors to this frequency, she continued, we can not only disable their ships but render them inoperable to any Radak pilot. We could capture their entire fleet. The plan required simultaneous attacks on Radak command ships in every major theater. The logistics were daunting, but for the first time, humanity had a chance to do more than simply survive. They could win. 3 weeks of intensive preparation followed. Resistance cells worldwide manufactured the modified disruptors and coordinated attack plans. The day of the offensive was codenamed Tide Turn. General Lee would lead the Seoul team personally. Their target, the Radak command ship hovering over what had once been the Han River. This won't be like previous missions, he told his strike team. We're not just disrupting, we're boarding. Our goal is to capture that ship intact with all its data systems. The night before the mission, he found Dr. Kim in the Memorial Hall, a somber space where the names of the billions lost were projected on walls in endlessly scrolling text. Do you think they knew what they were starting? She asked quietly. When they decided to eliminate us? I doubt they considered we could fight back at all, Lee replied. Species that think as one often can't imagine the strength of individual will. Dawn broke clear and cold over Seoul's ruins. The strike teams moved silently through the city toward their targets. Each carried the new disruptors, powerful enough to affect the command ship systems. The Radak vessel loomed ahead, a massive disc-shaped craft hovering silently above the river. Its surface rippled with strange lights that seemed to pulse in patterns. That's their neural network visualized, whispered Dr. Kim, who had insisted on joining the mission. Each light represents thousands of connected Radak minds. Sergeant Yoon checked the disruptor one final time. Ready on your command, General. Lee took a deep breath. For Earth, he said simply, and gave the signal. The disruptor activated with a high-pitched whine. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the lights on the Radak ship began to flicker erratically. The massive vessel shuddered in the air, dropping several meters before stabilizing at a lower altitude. It's working, Yoon reported. Their systems are going offline. Around the world, similar scenes played out as resistance teams activated their disruptors against Radak command ships. The Seoul team moved quickly to the ship's now exposed access port. Using captured Radak technology, they bypassed security systems and entered the vessel. Inside, they found confusion. Radak crew members moved erratically, their 4 eyes blinking in uncoordinated patterns, clear signs of neural disruption. Secure the command center, ordered General Lee. Dr. Kim, find their data core. The resistance fighters moved efficiently through the ship, subduing disoriented Radak and securing key systems. In the central command hub, Dr. Kim accessed the ship's master database. I'm in, she announced, downloading everything. Star charts, fleet positions, homeworld coordinates. As data flowed into their storage devices, a message appeared on the main screen, not in Radak language, but in Korean. We see you, humans. You have surprised us. This is unexpected. It was the Radak overmind itself, the central consciousness that guided their entire species, acknowledging humanity directly for the first time. General Lee stepped forward. We are not finished surprising you, he said firmly. This is just the beginning. Across the planet, humanity had just seized control of 27 Radak command ships. The tide of war had turned. 1 year after Operation Tide Turn, humanity had reclaimed Earth. The remaining Redac forces had retreated to orbital positions, their ground operations completely abandoned. But General Lee knew the war was far from over. In the new Global Defense Headquarters, established in the restored city of Seoul, Lee studied the star charts captured from Redac ships. The alien empire spanned dozens of star systems, with their homeworld, Redac Prime, at the center. Their fleet is regrouping at these coordinates, he said, pointing to a location 3 light-years from Earth. They're preparing for another attack, but this time they'll come with ships designed to resist our disruption technology. Admiral Kang, formerly captain of a nuclear submarine and now commander of Earth's first space defense fleet, nodded grimly. How long do we have? 6 months, maybe less, replied Intelligence Director Song. But we have an advantage they don't expect. That advantage was currently under construction in a massive facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. Using reverse-engineered Redac technology, humanity had built its first true starships. The lead vessel, named Phoenix, was nearly complete. General Lee and Dr. Kim toured the shipyard the following day. The Phoenix was impressive, smaller than Redac cruisers, but designed specifically for human operation, with systems that favored individual control rather than hive-mind interfaces. She'll be ready for launch in 3 weeks, said Chief Engineer Jun proudly. The neural disruption weapons are built directly into her main systems, and we've added something special. He led them to the ship's core, where a strange crystalline device pulsed with blue light. We call it the Harmony Disruptor, Jun explained, based on Dr. Kim's research into the Redac collective consciousness. It doesn't just temporarily break their connection, it can permanently sever individuals from the overmind. Dr. Kim studied the device with mixed emotions. You understand what this means. We're not just fighting them. We're changing what they are on a fundamental level. General Lee nodded solemnly. Sometimes the only way to stop an enemy is to transform them. The Phoenix launched on a clear autumn day, carrying Earth's hopes into the stars. General Lee commanded the mission, with Dr. Kim as science officer and a crew of 300, the best pilots, engineers, and soldiers humanity could provide. Their first destination wasn't Redac space, however. Based on the data recovered from captured ships, they set course for Keller 5, home to the Neth, one of the species nearly exterminated by the Redac. We need allies, Lee had argued before the Global Defense Council. Other species who have suffered as we have, who understand what we're fighting. The journey to Keller 5 took 3 weeks using the reverse-engineered Redac drive system. Dr. Kim spent the time studying everything they had learned about the Neth, a species physically unlike humans, with plant-like characteristics and a complex social structure based on shared nutrients. Their civilization was far more advanced than ours when the Redac attacked them, she told the command crew. But they had no concept of warfare. They never developed weapons. When the Phoenix arrived at Keller 5, they found a planet still bearing the scars of the Redac attack centuries earlier. Vast areas remained barren, though patches of vibrant growth indicated the Neth were slowly reclaiming their world. First contact was tense. The Neth, traumatized by their near extinction, initially hid from the human vessel. It took days of patient communication before they agreed to meet. The Neth delegates who finally boarded the Phoenix were tall, slender beings with bark-like skin and leaves that changed color with their emotions. They moved with fluid grace that belied their plant origins. We thought we were alone, said the lead Neth, whose name translated roughly as sunward growth. Its leaves flickered between purple and gold, emotions the humans couldn't yet interpret. No species has ever survived a Redac purge. General Lee explained humanity's situation and their plan to strike back against the Redac. You fight the Harmony. Sunward growth's leaves turned deep blue with shock. This is unknown in galactic history. The Harmony consumes or destroys. Nothing opposes it. Humans are good at doing the impossible, Lee replied simply. After 3 days of negotiations, the Neth agreed to an alliance. Though not warriors, they possessed advanced biological technology that could enhance the Phoenix's systems. More importantly, they shared coordinates for other survivor species. The Vril still exist in the shadows of the Cygnus Arm, sunward growth revealed, and the Terran maintain a hidden colony in the Helix Nebula. Both suffered as we did. Both might join your cause. Over the next 2 months, the Phoenix visited these hidden survivors. The Vril, crystalline beings with advanced energy manipulation abilities, initially distrusted the humans, but eventually offered their technology in exchange for protection. The Terran, small, 6-limbed creatures with remarkable mathematical minds, joined more readily, seeing in humans the warriors they themselves were not. With each new ally, humanity's capabilities grew. The Phoenix was upgraded with Vril energy systems and Terran navigation technology. 2 more Earth ships, Pegasus and Orion, joined the fleet, similarly enhanced. The Radak have never faced a united opposition. Admiral Kang noted during a strategy session, their whole approach to conquest assumes isolated resistance at most. Intelligence from the allied species provided a clearer picture of the Radak civilization. The Harmony, as they called themselves, had spent millennia expanding through the galaxy, identifying and eliminating any species their predictive models classified as potential threats. Their society is entirely built around preservation of their collective, explained Dr. Kim. They genuinely believe they're maintaining galactic stability by removing disruptive species. 6 months after the Phoenix's first launch, the Allied fleet was ready. 7 ships, 3 human, 2 Vril, 1 Terran, and 1 Neth, assembled at the edge of Radak space. Their target, a major Radak fleet base orbiting a gas giant called Viridian. General Lee addressed the combined crews before the attack. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for all species who have suffered under Radak aggression. They believed they could predict our behavior. They calculated our potential and found us threatening. Today, we proved them right. The Battle of Viridian marked humanity's first offensive operation in space. The Allied fleet struck with perfect coordination, something the Radak, accustomed to the advantages of their hive mind, never expected from lesser species. The Harmony disruptors proved devastatingly effective. Radak ships tumbled out of formation as their crews lost connection to the Overmind. For the first time in their history, individual Radak experienced true isolation, and they had no psychological defense against it. "They're retreating," reported Tactical Officer Yoon, as the surviving Radak vessels fled into deeper space. "We've taken the base intact." Among the captured data was the location of the Radak homeworld. As the Allied fleet regrouped and repaired, General Lee studied the coordinates with grim determination. "The path to Radak Prime is clear," he told Dr. Kim quietly. "The question now is, what do we do when we get there?" The journey to Radak Prime took 3 months. The Allied fleet grew as they traveled, joined by ships from other survivor species who emerged from hiding when news of the Viridian victory spread. By the time they reached the outer boundary of the Radak home system, 24 vessels flew under the banner of what was now called the Coalition of Free Species. General Lee stood on the Phoenix's observation deck, watching the distant sun of the Radak homeworld. 2 years had passed since the aliens first attacked Earth. The war had transformed him from a military officer into something more, a symbol of humanity's refusal to be erased. "Fleet is in position," reported Admiral Kang from the command center. "All ships report ready." Dr. Kim joined Lee at the viewport. Her role had evolved from scientist to diplomat, coordinating between the various species of the coalition. "The Radak have recalled every available ship to defend their homeworld," she said. "Over 300 vessels." Lee nodded. "And our intelligence." "The Terran infiltration team succeeded. We have complete schematics of their planetary defense systems. More importantly, we've located the Overmind complex, the physical hub of their collective consciousness. This was the true target of their mission. Not conquest, not destruction, but the liberation of the Radak from their own hive mind." the consciousness that had decreed the elimination of so many species. The War Council gathered one final time before the attack. Representatives from each coalition species presented their views on the approaching conflict. "We should destroy them completely," argued the Vril ambassador, her crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. "They showed no mercy to our worlds." "Extermination would make us no better than them," countered Sunward Growth of the Neth. "There must be another way." General Lee listened to all sides before speaking. "Our mission has never been about revenge. It's about ensuring the safety of all species. The Harmony Disruptors give us an option beyond genocide. We can free individual Radak from the Overmind while neutralizing their military threat." Not everyone agreed, but Lee's leadership had earned him the final authority. The attack plan was set: a direct assault on Radak Prime's defenses, while a small strike team infiltrated the Overmind complex. The battle began at dawn, local time. The Coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, immediately engaging the Radak defense forces. The space above Radak Prime became a chaos of energy weapons, disruption fields, and desperate maneuvers. General Lee led the strike team personally. Using a modified Terran shuttle with advanced stealth capabilities, they slipped through the planetary defense grid while the main battle raged in orbit. "Approaching the Overmind complex," reported Pilot Officer Bake. "Minimal detection so far." The Overmind facility was unlike anything they had expected. Not a military installation, but a biological structure. A massive, pulsing organism that resembled a giant brain, housed within a crystalline dome. Around it spread the Radak capital city, its architecture flowing and organic, buildings connected by strands of living material. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Kim as they observed from their landing position. "Their entire civilization is a single connected entity." The strike team moved carefully through the city. Most Radak civilians had taken shelter during the attack, but those they encountered seemed confused, their movements uncoordinated, effects of the disruption signals being broadcast from orbit. At the entrance to the Overmind complex, they met the first real resistance. Elite Radak guards, somehow shielded from the disruption effects, defended the approach. "They've adapted," warned Sergeant Yoon as energy blasts struck near their position. "Standard disruption frequencies aren't affecting them." Dr. Kim quickly adjusted their portable disruptors. "New frequency pattern. This should penetrate their shielding." The modified disruptors worked. The guards collapsed, their neural systems overwhelmed by the unfamiliar signal pattern. The way to the Overmind was clear. Inside the complex, the team found themselves walking through living tissue. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent light. Neural pathways visible through translucent membranes carried signals throughout the structure. "This is the physical manifestation of their collective consciousness," Dr. Kim explained, scanning with her instruments. "Each pathway connects to millions of individual Radak minds." At the center of the complex, they found what they sought: a chamber containing a floating crystalline structure, pulsing with complex energy patterns. This was the Overmind itself, not an individual being, but an emergent consciousness arising from the connected minds of the entire Radak species. As they approached, the crystal began to glow more intensely. A voice spoke directly into their minds. "We have been watching you, humans. You have surpassed all our predictions." General Lee stepped forward. "Your predictions led you to try to eradicate us, and many other species before us." "It was necessary," the Overmind replied. "Our models showed with 94.3% certainty that humanity would eventually challenge Radak dominance in the galaxy. The same was true of the other species we removed." "And now?" asked Dr. Kim. "What do your models show now?" There was a pause before the response came. "Uncertainty. You have done what no species has done before. Our models no longer apply." Lee activated the specialized Harmony disruptor they had brought, a device designed not to destroy the Overmind, but to fundamentally alter it. "We're not here to destroy your species," he said firmly. "But the Harmony as it exists cannot continue. It has caused too much suffering. The device hummed to life, emitting complex frequency patterns designed by the combined scientists of the coalition. The effect on the overmind was immediate. The crystal's pulsing changed rhythm, its glow shifting from blue to purple to gold. "What are you doing?" The overmind's mental voice seemed to fragment, multiple tones speaking at once. "We are becoming separate." "Not separate," Dr. Kim explained, "but changed. The frequency is restructuring your neural patterns. You will still be connected, but individual Radak will retain autonomy. The collective will no longer override the individual." As the process continued, reports came in from orbit. The Radak fleet was standing down, ships powering down weapon systems as their crews experienced the change rippling through the overmind. 3 days later, the first new Radak representative met with the coalition leadership. It called itself Melody, an individual name, something previously unknown in Radak culture. "We are learning what it means to be both one and many," Melody explained. "It is difficult, but illuminating." The peace process would be complex. The restructured Radak consciousness would need time to develop new social patterns. The species they had nearly destroyed would require generations to rebuild. But for the first time, genuine cooperation seemed possible. 1 month after the Battle of Radak Prime, the Coalition convened a formal assembly to establish a new galactic order. Representatives from 27 species, including newly individualized Radak, gathered to sign the Covenant of Stars. General Lee, now appointed Earth's first galactic ambassador, spoke at the ceremony. "They tried to erase us because they feared what we might become. In responding to that threat, we discovered not just our own strength, but the power of unity across different species and civilizations. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning. A galaxy where difference is not feared but celebrated, where no species needs to fear extinction at the hands of another." Dr. Kim, standing beside him, watched as the representatives signed the historic document. "Do you think it will last?" she asked quietly. Lee looked out at the gathered species, beings of all forms and thoughts, united by their shared survival and hope for a different future. "It must," he said simply. "We've proven we can fight. Now we need to prove we can build." As the Phoenix began its journey back to Earth, carrying news of peace, Lee stood once more at the observation deck. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant, but full of possibility. Humanity had not just survived, they had changed the course of galactic history. They had refused to be erased.